is Amy Elmore. She's our intuitive specialist, and there are probably some intuitives in this room too. Amy.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Amy. I'm a Reiki practitioner and also intuitive reader. Before I launch into my talk though about intuition, I just want to give a quick thank you to St. Paul's Free University for putting on this event. I'm sure you guys will enjoy today. I always do enjoy our events. Also, I'm really excited to see so many people here sign up to be life coaches. I've seen this field grow over the past few years, and I think it's going to just continue to grow as time goes on, since like the 90s, I believe. I look forward to also listening to the other speakers, Wendy, David, and Daniel. They always put a lot of preparation and thought into their presentation, so I'm also look forward to listening to what they have to say today too. So anyway, as the title says, my presentation, sorry about that technology, is we'll be talking about intuition and how to use it as a skill for coaching. Now, intuition can be a valuable asset that protects us and keeps us safe when we're feeling most vulnerable. And perhaps you didn't know, though, that it could be a useful skill to have in business as well. When we have a career or business, such as life coaching, that brings us face-to-face with our clients or one-on-one, we may not think that intuition would be a good skill to have or use, or a tool that benefits both us and our client. We know that empathy, as David said, and compassion are important to have in life coaching, and it's a good, soft skill to have. But intuition can really help us in our business decisions and management, marketing plans, and also being able to market to and find our ideal clients that we can, best serve with our unique skills that we have. So by sharpening our intuition, we have the ability to really connect with our clients and their needs, and help them with their goals, and really reach and help them succeed, which is, a life coach's goal is to, watch our clients reach their dreams. So what exactly is intuition, though, and how do we define that? If you do a quick internet search, you'll see that that's not a word. Psychology defines it as an ability to acquire knowledge without inference or the use of reason. Which many of us, if you think of logic and reason, we think of Mr. Spock, who's all about logic and reason. And the science officer who's second in command. Now, how many of you are familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality test? Okay, so for some of you, maybe you've seen the memes, the different personality types on the internet. There's a couple examples, and here's the full list. Myers-Briggs, how they define intuition is an awareness of knowing that seems to come unbidden and cannot be logically explained. And for some of you that may not be familiar, the letters, what they stand for is the E stands for extrovert, the I stands for introvert. So it's testing these polar opposites to see where you fit in. So the S is for sensing, the I is for intuition, T is for thinking, F is for feeling, J is judging, and P is perceiving. Went too far, sorry. Spoiler alert. So the medical definition for intuition is non-rational cognition, assumed knowledge, guesswork, or a hunch, which explains Captain Kirk, who, as we know, often goes off hunches besides logic and reason, but mostly hunches. I think what this shows is that in leadership roles, we don't just need logic and reason, but also compassion and intuition. That makes the best leaders. That's why Captain Kirk is captain and Spock is second in command. So if we move away from main science and into away from mainstream and into metaphysical, they describe intuition as a natural knowing capacity, inner knowing, immediate apprehension of spiritual truth without resort or intellectual means, or wisdom of the heart. So, for some people, they hear that as, maybe hippie stuff, or, let's, all gather around new agey stuff. So with those definitions of intuition, if it's described as knowing without logic or reason or wisdom of the heart, is it reliable? Well, in academia and in science fields such as medicine and psychology, they view intuition as an early development, part of our development at an early age that starts around the age 3 to 5. And it can be affected by our environment and caretakers, and also by observing the behavior of others around us. We tend to mimic the actions of adults and other children at that age. And if any of you have school-age children, you probably noticed as soon as they start kindergarten, preschool, that their behavior starts to change, and they're exposed to different personalities and behaviors, some good, some bad. So they are basically exposed to new ways of thinking too. So as my mom used to put it, the definition of brats are other people's kids. So let's see. I think that brings us to nature versus nurture. If science sees intuition as a development stage that we learn from our environment, I think this explanation of intuition really actually can be based on reason and logic. It's more like instinct than intuition, and lots of people confuse those two. I'm sure you've heard of the nature versus nurture debate, where our behavior, where does it come from? Why am I like the way I am? But I think the explanation of nature and nurture fits in with the development of our instincts as well, because it seems that both nature and nurture does affect our instincts. For example, with nature, we have these built-in skills into our DNA that helps us survive as species. Our brain takes in loads of information, and our subconscious filters them to decide whether or not we are in danger, and it keeps us safe. For example, if you've ever gone for a walk in the woods and all of a sudden you feel nervous and you notice that it's dead quiet, it's probably because all the animals went quiet because there might be a predator, or it might be an environmental threat like a storm coming or earthquake. So those kind of things help us with our instincts. So with nurture, that comes from the environment of how we were raised. These conditions were raised and really helps to build on nature's instincts. For example, if you take two kids, one was raised in an area that was high crime, and versus maybe someone who was raised in suburbia and safe neighborhoods, if they're both walking down a city street, both of them are going to be, their perceptions are going to be completely and totally different. Their visual clues of what's safe and not safe are going to be different. So if they see someone who's kind of fidgety, maybe this kid from suburbia is going to get nervous, not feel safe, cross the road, or find another route. But maybe the kid who was raised around that kind of thing will go and assess whether that person is just, an addict waiting for their dealer, or maybe someone who's just going through a hard time, or they're going to know whether that person's safe or not, and they're also going to know how to act, to be confident and show no fear and pass by. So that example of instinct is very different from intuition. So for example, intuition, how many of you have met a stranger and you just instantly connected and you were like best friends separated at birth? Or you met someone and you just knew this person, there's something off about them. I don't know what it is, but they're not safe. So that's a good example of instinct. So what are the types of ways that, or I said intuition, sorry. So what are some ways that intuition speaks to us? There's seeing, hearing, knowing and feeling. And for example, we'll have a sample question. What did my husband have for lunch today? And let's say it's McDonald's. So if you have a seeing intuition, you're probably going to see, the golden arches. So will come to mind. And if you're more hearing, you'll probably maybe hear the jingle. Other ways are like songs, that kind of thing. I don't know if you know Mr. Bean. So. Also another way is hearing. I did hearing. Knowing. There we go. Sometimes before you even finish the question, you just know. It doesn't even almost form into a word. You just know. So, and then there is taste and smell, which I think is pretty rare. Not many people have this. So maybe you smell the French fries or taste the hamburger. You might get a sour feeling in your mouth. You might get a scent that you smell that's familiar to you. And then there's feeling, and this is often described probably more familiar to people, such as having a gut feeling. It could also manifest as sensations in your body, such as maybe a headache, the tightness in the chest or throat, or even emotions that seem to be unexplained and come out of nowhere that don't belong to you. So, I don't know about you, but that's how I feel after McDonald's. So, sorry, talking makes me thirsty. So intuition versus fear. Sometimes, like I was talking about with those emotions, we feel fear, but how do we know it's actually intuition and fear? Because some people get those confused. So, for example, intuition, for one, is that tapping on the shoulder, and it doesn't really have an emotion attached to it. And like Dave was bringing up earlier, sometimes you can feel other people's emotions. So sometimes you have to decipher between what's yours and what's other people. And once you do, you still have to fight off, your own insecurities. For example, if you plan a vacation to go to Hawaii, and you're nervous about flying on the plane and you're scared, and maybe you're like, oh, maybe this is my intuition telling me not to get on that plane. But intuition would be more of a strong urge to maybe change your plans or find a different way. That would be more along the lines of intuition. So how can you build on your intuition if maybe some of you don't have built-in intuition, or maybe you want to make it stronger? There's some exercises that you can do. For example, journaling really helps. I don't know if any of you heard the Artist Way. She has a suggestion of doing pages, your morning pages every day. That also helps with getting in touch with your intuition, because it really helps clear your brain fog and any anxieties or mind chatter, even, like to-do list and reminders. You can kind of get that all out of the way so you can focus on the now and the present. There's also meditation that you can do. Again, that helps kind of clear your mind. It relaxes your body, releases tension. And if you're not big on meditation, there's all of sitting still and just trying to empty your mind. There's all kinds of guided meditations you can do. on YouTube that aren't that long. There's also moving meditation, which is things like yoga, even gardening and washing dishes. As long as you're focused and relaxed in what you're doing, it's a type of meditation. Also, getting out and getting some fresh air to garden or hike, yard work, go to the beach, the lake, really just connect with nature. Also, you can connect with your intuition by just asking it a question, such as, what color is my best friend, shirt is my best friend wearing today? And then maybe text her for the answer. And just with those type of things, write your first answer down. So you can almost, make a game out of it and do some, playing prediction, get a deck of cards, dice, if you're in a store, let your intuition guide you which line is moving faster. If your phone is ringing, before you pick it up, try to let it come to you who's calling you. I've done that, it's kind of fun. And then also, as the Jedi say, don't think, feel. So really kind of feel your way into it. If you try to overthink and overanalyze, you're doing it wrong. Just kind of let it flow, really. And then after that, kind of just get out of your own way. When you start to get some confirmation of that you're getting in touch with your intuition, then don't start doubting it. Just go ahead and keep trusting yourself. Also, just some positive self-talk. So affirmations really help to build our confidence too. So how is all of this going to help you with your coaching and business management? How do you put all this together? Well, both intuition and instincts are equally important tools, and they're practical uses for feeling secure and safe. For example, maybe a client wants to meet you and you're feeling, maybe I should meet in a public space, or maybe I shouldn't be giving them my personal information. Maybe they're a little too, invasive on your personal life. So it could really help protect you, your privacy and your security as well. Also, intuition really helps you to reduce the struggle of making business decisions, especially if you're new at this and you have to worry about, making decisions or agonizing over, the minutia details that often happens when you're, going into business. Especially if things are just a matter of personal choice and it's not necessarily something you can look up. For example, which style of life coaching should I do? Should I, market it? Should I do word of mouth or digitally market myself? These are all personal choices, and I've known people who have done both. There are some really successful Reiki masters that are just word of mouth and that's it, and others, have pages on social media and do really well. So it's just, you can use your intuition to, best find what your needs best serve you. Also, being intuitive really helps you build your confidence. Once you flex and strengthen your intuitive skills, you'll learn to trust yourself and have confidence in your capabilities. So it also will help you develop compassion, as most people who are intuitive are described as highly sensitive and have other abilities that help them connect with their family, their friends, and their community. So if you continue to develop your intuition, it'll only help you build on that compassion. It could also help you, as a compass, really find your way when you're stuck and you're unsure, which direction to go to. And again, turn your can'ts into cans. So, also it could help you vet your clients. So sometimes, if you're, we're all going to be interviewing our clients to see whether or not we're a good fit. And sometimes someone looks good on paper, but maybe you have a feeling like, oh, maybe this person might be a little too, maybe I don't have maybe what they're looking for, maybe we're not a good fit. So it really helps that intuitiveness, that gut feeling, to see, if a client is going to be maybe too high maintenance, for example, and you just don't have that kind of energy. And some people do. So also could help you with your clients once you start working with them. Maybe they get stuck or they're resistant and they're not wanting to try new things. Or make excuses. You could use your intuition to figure out, okay, is there some fear behind that? Why are they being resistant? And you could help them take baby steps. So you could really kind of just, really help them further by tuning into what they really need. Also, there might be a time where your client comes to you with a textbook problem and it's all there on paper and you're like, okay, I know I should be taking this step, but something feels like, I think I need to think, about out of the box, or think in terms of different and unique ways. So that really helps to connect with people. So sometimes, intuition will, spoiler alert. So sometimes intuition will really nudge you out of logic and into, out of logic and reason and into just, new pathways and new ways of thinking. So in my own practice, I rely very much on intuition. As a Reiki master or practitioner, you really have to be in tune with your client, let your hands guide you, and sometimes you pick up on things, so you really have to be in touch with your intuition. As an intuitive reader, again, you have to really rely on intuition to figure out, the answers to the questions that your, client is coming to you with. So also, when my client's on the table, all kinds of things from like if their chakras are out, if there's emotions or pain. So there's all kinds of ways that intuition helps me out every day. Let's see, what time is it? I do have a handout. It is in your book, and it has a list of all the, you don't have to bring it out if you want, but it has a list of the exercises that I told you about, as well as the website for Myers-Briggs if you're interested in taking the test. If you go through Myers-Briggs, it does cost money, but there are other places on the internet that you can take it. I do suggest that if you can't find a certified Myers-Briggs practitioner, just make sure that the answers, or excuse me, the questions should be statements, and they should be strongly agree, and they should be based on that. And that's how you could, that's a good way to find if it's a good test to take, the personality test. So, and I really do suggest getting, it's a great tool. You really get to know yourself and also help you figure out what makes you tick and why you are the way you are. And eventually you might want to add it into your life coaching and help your clients really get to know themselves on a deeper level. And it can also help you even further insights into helping them and what makes them tick. So, all right, thank you so much. And we're going to take a little break before our next speaker. And if anyone has any questions, just come ask me. So, thank you.